Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report Podcast, Energized by Celsius. We had a long but great weekend covering the 2022 NFL Draft for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We streamed for over 15 hours, and after a day off on Sunday to unwind a little bit, we are back to recap all of those picks that the Bucs made. My name is Matt Matera, and joined with me is none other than the man himself, SR Scott Reynolds. Scott, how are you doing this afternoon?
Excellent, man. This was a long weekend, but it was a fun one. And I think that given our traffic numbers on our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV, it was well received by the Pewter people out there, which was awesome. We appreciate everybody tuning in to our Pewter Report draft show. And now we're back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 4 o'clock Eastern time for the Pewter Report podcast. So you know what to do, folks. Make sure that you subscribe to Pewter Report TV on our YouTube channel. Hit the like button on all those videos. And speaking of videos, Matt Matera's put up a lot of snippets from interviews from Jason Licht, and we're going to have some John Spytek as well up on our YouTube channel. We also have a couple of polls up there. Did you like the Buccaneers draft? So there's a lot to do on our YouTube channel rather than just watch the Pewter Report podcast, which we love that you do, but we're really growing and expanding our YouTube channel.
Yes, 100%. I'm glad you brought that up, Scott, because don't get me wrong. I love doing these podcasts, and I love that every single fan on here gets into the chat, interacts with us, and watches us. But I understand the year that we're in, not everyone can sit down for an hour and 15, however long we go. Sometimes you just want to get straight and right to the point. So that's what we're doing. We're cutting up videos, whether it's Jason Licht. And again, it's great listening to Jason Licht for 20 minutes, forever how long he talks. But if you just want to hear him talk about Logan Hall, or you just want to hear him talk about Rashaad White, we got that for you on our YouTube channel, along with other pieces of content, information, topics we'll get into today. Maybe you just want to hear about Luke Goedeke. Let us know. We'll put something up there for you as well. So we're doing a little bit of everything for everyone on this YouTube channel. So please subscribe. We got a lot of subscribers over the past weekend with the YouTube show. Can't thank you guys enough for that. Thank you for all the super chats. If you super chat us here, we will make sure we get to your question or comment or concern, whatever it may be. We make sure we get to that pretty soon as well, too. So,
yeah. And Matt, it's great to be back at 4 o'clock. Now, I love the primetime shows. They're fun to do at night, and we hit like a little bit of a different audience because some people are still at work and they appreciate being able to watch the live podcast at 7:30. But tonight, Matt,
hey, that's right.
You've got your Stanley Cup champion Lightning.
Back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, kind of like back-to-back Houston Cougars from last year and this year as well, too. Hey, listen, I'm rooting for the Lightning. As long as they're not playing my team, I root for them. I actually placed a bet on the Lightning to beat the Maple Leafs in the first round because we all know Toronto chokes in the first round. They're nothing but chokers. So I'm very confident in the Bolts. I think they're going to win this first round, and I'm going to be watching. I'm definitely rooting for them. So go Bolts for tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So let's recap the draft, shall we? I mean, for those people, and not everybody could watch our Pewter Report's draft show on our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV. So in case you missed it, that's fine. We've got the full recap of the Buccaneers draft picks. As it turns out, Matt, they started off with 6 picks. They ended up with 8 players. And that's because Jason Licht did some trading really all over the place. Starting in round 1, he traded out of round 1. We saw even before the draft, Jason Licht execute a trade for Shaq Mason. When you include him, the starting right guard into this draft, it gets a little ridiculous. I think the Buccaneers had a very good draft, and Shaq Mason, of course, he's a veteran from the Patriots, but boy, you throw that 5th rounder in there for him, and it really solidifies this class. They also traded up in the 2nd round for Luke Goedeke, traded a 4th round pick from next year into the 5th round this year for Zion McCollum. So we also saw Jason Licht package a couple of 7th rounders move up to get Keke. So Jason Licht was a very busy dude during the draft.
That's right. Trader Jason living up to his name. It was also a musical chairs. It's like, all right, well, they had a 6th round pick for a moment. Then they traded that. They traded twice with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, as you just mentioned, to get that 33rd pick and draft Logan Hall. They traded with the Buffalo Bills as well, and I believe the Rams, if I'm not mistaken. And the Rams hate acquiring draft picks, so that was funny to see. So, yeah, the Bucs were moving all over the place, moving and shaking. There's some breaking news as well, too, not with the Bucs, but apparently DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver for the Cardinals, got suspended for PEDs for the first 6 games of the season. I see a lot of people in the chat talking about that. So we can get to that too, which that could affect the Bucs because the Bucs do play the Cardinals this season.
We just don't know when.
Yeah, exactly. We just don't know when. We're waiting for the schedule to drop. So it could impact the Bucs. But nonetheless, Jason Licht was making trades left and right. And overall, I would give this, I mean, I guess it's too early to give grades. And I kind of don't like giving the grades when you don't see, you can't really give a grade until 3 or 4 years from now when these players have time to develop and we actually see them on the field. But I think if you look at a lot of what the analysts, experts, national medias, talking heads, whatever, they singled out a couple of teams that have really, hit a home run in this draft. Actually, the Jets and Giants, oddly enough, were up there at the top. The Eagles and the Ravens have been pretty praised for what they've done. If those teams are tier 1 in terms of success with their drafting, I think I would put the Bucs in a tier 2 category where it was very solid. It was good. Maybe not a home run for every single pick, but at the end of the day, I think they made their team better. They addressed areas of need or areas of depth that they needed to get to. So overall, I don't really have too many complaints about what Tampa Bay did in this draft.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was really solid. I'd probably give it a B plus because they hit a lot of needs. And when you look at this draft class, Matt, the first round pick is going to play, right? I mean, I say first round pick. Technically, Logan Hall was a second round pick, but he was a first round pick for the Buccaneers in the fact that they could have had him at 27. They traded back. And an interesting thing, I'll stop right there for a second. The interesting thing is the Buccaneers say that they had 5 players they liked.
Yep.
And that Logan Hall was the last one at number 33. So there really was no way that Jason Licht was going to trade down from 33 because they really liked it and wanted and needed Logan Hall.
Right, Scott. That was a big question. Starting day 2 was, will the Bucs trade back again? Also, side note, it's going to make for a great trivia question in 5-10 years from now when it's like, who was the Bucs first round draft? It's going to be a trick question because it's going to be who were the Bucs first round draft pick in the 2022 draft, and someone's going to say Logan Hall, and then he'll be like, no, he was their second round pick, but he was their first pick overall. But besides that, Todd Bowles, he made it very obvious, maybe not obvious, but he made it his intent was there when he said that, they like someone like Devontae Wyatt, but they had Devontae Wyatt and Logan Hall on the same exact level. So it's just funny to see where we were all speculating it. Some of us were predicting it, and I don't think it would have been a shock at all if Tampa Bay decided to trade that 33rd pick, but ultimately they held on to it, got Logan Hall. And if they had him on the same level as a Wyatt, as some of the other guys that kind of went there, Lewis Cine, obviously thought he was in play there as well, too. At the end of the day, if he's on your big board and you get that guy, that's a win for the Bucs. And they got more picks out of it. They were able to spin the wheel and
really, they got Keke Coutee out of it. The fourth round pick there. So Buccaneers did a couple things the Pewter Report accurately projected them to do.
Yes,
Logan Hall, Rashaad White were in our mock drafts, not just this one, but also in previous ones. Rashaad White was in our first mock draft back in January, as well as being in our final. Logan Hall was in our 4th mock draft as a second rounder. Then we bumped him up to the first round for the final mock draft. We had
Zion. He was a Bucs best bet.
And he was a Bucs best bet.
Yeah.
Kate Otten was a Bucs best bet for the day 3 selection at tight end. And we had Zion McCollum in our mock draft for, I think it was version 3, which was in late March. I think it was right after the combine. So I'm glad that we were able to put some of these players on your radar, Pewter Report readers and listeners and viewers. That's our job. We want to accurately tell you
the people,
who this team's drafting and why. And there was a lot of talk about Trey McBride, and we were we had him in the mock draft as the second round pick in this year's final mock draft, as well as the Bucs best bet at tight end. And the reason why they didn't trade up to get him, they liked him, but they knew they would have to sacrifice a fourth rounder to do so. And they ended up getting two players. They really liked Luke Hideki. They might have drafted Trey McBride had he fallen to them if they had stayed put. But once the Cardinals drafted him, they moved up and got Hideki. And so I think that when you look at Hideki and Otten, I think they would have rather have taken that route rather than McBride and offensive guard to be named later, right? We don't know which guard they would have taken. And would that have been the third round or the fourth round, right? So Mark Fisher's got a question here. Love the draft coverage. My one concern, White over Spiller, given what I saw from y'all. Your thoughts on that? Yeah, I'll say this. I know John really liked Spiller. I did too. I think that he is a good kind of tackle breaking running back. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Kareem Hunt. Maybe not as explosive, maybe not as thick in the lower body, but a similar style of guy who's not going to wow you with speed, Matt, but does have some ability to slip tackles as well as break tackles. But the thing about Rashaad White that's really interesting, the third round pick, and this was a back that before they even drafted a running back, we said on the draft show, whether it's Isaiah Spiller, whether it's Damian Pierce, or whether it's Rashaad White, the Bucs are going to draft one of those three running backs. We had narrowed it down to those three, and we put two as Bucs best bets. We put the other guy in the mock, which ended up being White. And this was a guy with his pass catching ability just really stood out, right? I mean, 43 catches. He averaged 10 yards per catch, which that's pretty good, as well as scoring a touchdown. And I think that he is going to be one of those players that's going to see the field quite a bit. I think he's going to beat out Keyshawn Vaughn for the second running back spot this year.
Yeah, I think Rashaad White might actually be my favorite pick of this entire draft.
I love it. I love that you love running backs. That's awesome.
I do. I part of me feels bad, not for Rashaad White, but for running backs in general, because I understand why they won't get picked in the first round anymore. And I understand they'll probably never get those big contracts again. So I feel for the running backs because they only have a limited amount of time. And so when they have their moment to shine, they gotta get going with it. One of the big words that Jason Licht used to describe Rashaad White was smooth. And I really enjoy that. I think it's going to be so much fun to watch his game. You look at his last year at Arizona State, he had 16 touchdowns, 15 of them rushing, only one of them receiving. But again, he still was a very solid receiver. You look at some of his games last year. I mean, he had games of 65 receiving yards, 70 receiving yards. And towards the end of the year, he had a game of 86 receiving yards. So we're talking about a guy that can get it done in the receiving game. But as we talked about, and we talked about with Jason Licht as well, too, he's a patient runner. And he's been compared to a certain running back that played for the Bucs last year. And he says that he watches, Le'Veon Bell. He said he watches guys like Jamal Charles and Arian Foster. And I think that smoothness, that patience that Rashaad White has, I believe that's going to be something in this Bucs running backs backfield that we really haven't seen too much. Like Leonard Fournette goes straight to the hole. Like he doesn't, you almost wish Leonard, he dances sometimes too much, but Leonard is right at you. He's going to lower the shoulder. He's going to lower the boom. Keyshawn Vaughn, more or less the same too. We always brag about this Bucs offensive line. Now, granted, that was with Ali Marpet and that was with Alex Kappa, but we always talked about how the Bucs have one of the best offensive lines in football, especially pass blocking.
Right.
But one of the knocks was, and even Bruce Arians was saying this, and Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich have mentioned, like, we have to do better at running the ball. Well, if you're boasting this great offensive line, you better get better at it. But I think part of that is having a different running back that's maybe going to see the game a little bit differently. Wait, let that hole develop. And it's a different style of running that we haven't always seen in the Buccaneers backfield. And I think we'll get that with Rashaad White. And I
Mhm.
think that'll be really fun to watch.
Yeah, he's been compared to Marcus Allen. That was the comparison that his college coach, Herm Edwards, former Bucs
Love Herm.
defensive backs coach and Jets head coach,
Yep.
made. And also I've heard the term Eric Dickerson, the word Eric Dickerson. Now Dickerson was
Those
pretty
are
damn
big,
fast,
like those are huge names too.
right?
Like we're talking
And
about Hall of Famers,
yeah,
great players.
and I think the thing is Rashaad White, 6'1". He's kind of has an upright running style, very similar to Le'Veon Bell in terms of being able to kind of be patient and then glide a little bit,
Mhm.
and also catch the ball. I mean, Le'Veon Bell was a tremendous receiver out of the backfield. That's the other comparison, not just the running style, but being able to be a running back on first, second, and third downs. So, one kind of final note on Logan Hall here. We did talk
Sure.
kind of at length about him during the Pewter Report draft show. We did write about him extensively on pewterreport.com. If you missed our mock draft or a Bucs best bet, I mean, we kind of covered a lot of what he can do there. I do think that Logan Hall is going to replace Ndamukong Suh.
Mhm.
I don't believe the team is going to re-sign Ndamukong Suh. When you look at the fact that they have not done that yet, the fact that Suh's price tag is probably in the $9 million range, which is what it has been the last 3 years when they've signed him to 3 one-year deals. I think this team, and based upon what I heard from Jason Licht and from Todd Bowles, and sometimes it's not what they say, it's what they don't say,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's how they say it. I asked some pointed questions, and I asked Todd Bowles about what type of mentor Ndamukong Suh is going to be to Logan Hall, and understanding that Suh is not signed, he's not on the roster, and because I wanted to get Bowles' reaction to that, and
Yeah.
he says, well,
Not
you
on
know,
the team.
not on the team. We like some guys that are here that will do that. It could have been very easy for him to say, when Ndamukong Suh gets here, he's going to be a great mentor. We expect to sign Ndamukong Suh later, and whether it's in mini camp or training camp, and he'll be a great mentor. He did not go that far whatsoever. When asked about it in the press conference with Jason Licht,
Mhm.
Jason Licht pretty much said, if there's an emergency, we can call on Ndamukong Suh. But I'm just reading between the lines. It does not sound like they're going to re-sign Ndamukong Suh. I believe that they'll probably pick up another veteran defensive lineman. I think they want to get younger at the position. Suh is 35. He showed his age a little bit more last year. I know as a pass rusher, he got 6 sacks. If you look in the last couple of games of the season, the Falcons game, the Jets game, the Panthers game, they were able to do some things in running the ball laterally in the Buccaneers, right?
Uh-huh.
And he just couldn't chase. He just couldn't hold his gap and then flow to the sidelines like he used to.
And that's a
And
lot to ask for a 35-year-old.
it
For
is. There's
sure.
no
And
doubt. Yeah.
that's why you bring in Logan Hall, who ran track in high school or was a
Right.
hurdler. It was one
Yeah.
of those two. So yeah, I agree, Scott. At one point or another, whether it was this year or next year, the Bucs were going to have to get younger or at least replace Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah.
So I think right now is a great window where you can do it now. You obviously know the value of Suh.
Right.
But I think you could still get by with if you don't have Ndamukong Suh there. We saw the flip side of it with
Yeah.
when the Bucs won the Super Bowl. Vita Vea missed a lot of that season, and obviously he came back for the NFC Championship
Right.
game and the Super Bowl. But the Bucs' run defense was still the best in the league
Yeah.
and was still up there. So I have full faith in Todd Bowles, where Logan Hall, sure, he's a rookie. There's going to be the growing pains. There's going to
Yeah.
be missed assignments and things like that. It naturally occurs when you have a rookie out there playing significant minutes. However, the Bucs still have a very talented defense, and they have other guys on this defense, on this roster, that can kind of pick up the pieces. It's
Right.
kind of like how we talk about when Levante David has really helped out Devin White, where he masked some of Devin White's issues. That's going to happen for the Bucs too. Whether
Exactly.
it's Vita Vea just being a beast, getting into the backfield, whether it's Nacho maybe
Yeah.
getting a couple of more reps than maybe he would last year because you got that learning curve. I think Logan Hall, with his length, with his versatility, that speed and natural pass rushing, that's what Jason Licht talked about a lot too. I think now is the perfect time where if you're going to replace Suh, now's the time to do it with Logan Hall. And I agree too that it was surprising when Jason was essentially said, yeah, he might be like a training camp week 1 signing. Like, why would Suh sign up for that too? Like,
Right.
he's not going to drop his price because the season is later on. So
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, exactly. So I'm just reading the tea leaves here, and I just getting the feeling from the team that Sue is not going to be back unless there's an emergency, unless there's an injury or something like that. So if you're Logan Hall, study hard, get in the playbook. You're going to be a week 1 starter, and make sure if you're Logan Hall that you're drinking lots of Celsius, right? Because I mean,
Yep.
why wouldn't he, right? He's going to need all the energy he can get. And Celsius powers active lives every day with essential functional energy, Matt. No sugar, no preservatives. What does that mean? Well, it means that you're going to get all of the energy that you need without the sugar crash, right? That's the beauty of Celsius, is the tastes are tremendous. Look at all those cans. We have orange. We've got Fuji apple pear. We've got tropical vibe.
Sparkling
We've
wild berry I see in there.
wild berry, watermelon. There's also a mango peach tea flavored kiwi guava. I mean, the flavors are tremendous. It's the best tasting energy drink on the market. Peach vibe. They've got
There's new
tropical vibe.
flavors every single week. It's unbelievable. Like people are telling me, "Oh, have you tried this? The Arctic
got one right
Yeah,
here.
the Arctic one is
Arctic
crazy.
vibe.
I got the orange pomegranate. I had one of
That's
these over the
tremendous.
weekend. This whole weekend, the draft show, again, long hours, awesome
Yes.
hours, but
It was
this whole
fueled
weekend
and
was,
energized with Celsius, no
yeah,
doubt.
a
I had
Celsius
2
each
Celsius
day.
every day, and I've even had 2 today because I'm going to hit the gym after the show. And I'll tell you what, it's a great product to take before your workout. It just really powers your workout too. And if you're looking for a great complement to your workout, aside from Celsius, and like I said, they've got all 3 of the tropical flavors. They've got tropical vibe, peach vibe, and the new Arctic vibe. The other thing that you can add to your training table is the Fast brand protein bars. These are the best
Yep.
tasting protein bars on the market, folks. And if you've tried protein bars, what do they taste like, Matt? They taste like sawdust. They taste like wood chips.
They break everywhere.
Cardboard.
They're impossible to hold on to. You take
Yes.
one bite. God forbid you're like in someone's house or at a restaurant. Like you're just gonna make you wouldn't have it at a restaurant. But if you're at someone's house or apartment or something like that,
It's crumble.
you break one open, you're just making a mess in this person's house. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, with the Fast protein bars, not only do they not make a mess, they taste fantastic, and they give you all sorts of protein as well, and along with some great taste. They've got 2 tremendous flavors. They've got the white chocolate cookies and cream, and they've got the salted peanut caramel crunch. And folks, they taste like candy bars, and I'm not kidding. They really do. And the best part about this is they're $5 off a 12-pack right now through the end of the month. Use the promo code on Amazon, 5FASTLANE. That's 5, the number 5, FASTLANE, to save $5 off a 12-pack of either tremendous flavor of the Fast protein bars on Amazon.
Celsius is taking over. It's everywhere. They're getting huge sponsors as well too, like in the UFC, Dustin Poirier. He's been there for a while. So shout out to Celsius because they are everywhere, and it's great to see. I love it.
Yeah, we've had a tremendous amount of super chats over the draft weekend. We want to thank everybody out there. All you Pewter people are amazing. We appreciate those so much. We got another one today from Elliot, $4.99.
Thank you, Elliot.
Yep, Matt. Kappa and Hainsey had to remake their body to transition inside. How's Gadecki in that regard? Will he need a redshirt year to bulk up? He looks kind of ready to go to me.
Yeah, same.
Like, I'm just saying, it's like when you look at Kappa, he had kind of a slender left tackle build, and Hainsey just needed to work on his lower body to be able to move in center. But I think when you look at Luka Decky, he's pretty well proportioned. And I think that, like Ali Marpet, he'll be able to step in as a day 1 starter at left guard. And I think he's going to get a run from Aaron Stinney, who obviously knows the offense and has some playing experience under his belt. But I just think this is a Wisconsin farm kid.
Yep.
Who's
bring
just
your
solid.
tractor. Bring your tractor to school day was a quote that he said that they had that at school. His school was so small that got looked at anything like that. And he said he said it, but I believe it too, that he's got that chip on his shoulder. He said his work ethic is second to none. He went to a Division III school because he had no recruits looking at him whatsoever. Walked on at Central Michigan, played tight end, and then switched positions and he's going into the NFL now where he was a tackle. He's going to go into guard. But to answer the question about body composition and everything like that, the Bucs front office does not shy away from saying this guy needs to add weight. This guy needs to lose weight. For example, Logan Hall, Jason Licht said, yeah, by the season, he'll be at 295, 300, essentially saying that's what we want him to get at. He's not there yet. They did not say that, though, about Luke Keke. So I think when you match the intensity that I think he's going to bring, when you match the overall tenacity, the glass eater, as a lot of people like to say, I could see him competing right away. I said this on the live stream, too, that if he gets the starting job, and he does have to earn it, let's just not pencil him in right away there. But if he gets that starting job and it's him and Ryan Jensen next to each other, I haven't decided if I'm going to call them the Legion of Doom or the Brothers of Destruction. That's Kane and the Undertaker. But either way, that they are just going to. That's another thing Keke said is he wants to strike fear into the eyes of the opponent. It's one thing when it's one guy. When it's Ryan Jensen and Keke, I feel bad for the running backs. I feel bad for, the opposing defensive linemen that have to go up against these guys.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think that the body composition of Logan Hall and Luke Keke is only going to get bigger and better once they hit the weight room, right? I mean, we had a chance to talk to Tristan Worfs before the draft and when the Bucs started their offseason workouts. And Matt, he revealed that he wasn't 320 pounds like he was coming out of Iowa, and he wasn't 320 pounds like he was on the Buccaneers roster. He's 345, Matt. He's 345 pounds. That's ridiculous.
It's unbelievable.
I had a chance to ask him at the Arians Family Foundation Gala when I ran into him there, and I said, listen, man, I got to tell you, a lot of folks are blown away that you admitted that you weighed 345 because you certainly carry it well. And he said, I appreciate that. Thank you. And he said, yeah, I just at Iowa, he said, I wasn't on a diet, but I really had to watch my weight. They wanted me at 320. And he said the minute after the athletic testing for the combine, he just started to kind of just eat naturally. He's like, I didn't even just go for junk food or anything. I just kind of ate normal food.
Yeah. Ate more steak than usual.
Yeah, exactly. And I got up to 330 like that. And then I got here and, obviously he's continuing to hit the weight room. I mean, he's no stranger to the weight room. Mm-hmm. Tristan Worfs setting all sorts of weightlifting records at Iowa. And he said, I just played 340, 345 and just felt good at it. And you know what? It worked, man. He's an all-pro. He's a Pro Bowler. But I was just shocked that he ended up being that big.
Everything with Tristan Worfs just seems so flawless and natural, whether he's jumping out of pools, whether he just comes into the NFL with no training camp, goes up against the Saints, who had one of the best defensive lines and defenses in football at the time. They still have a great defense and added to it with Tyrann Mathieu. But everything that Tristan Worfs does, it's just seamless. The guy has no issues at all whatsoever. And I think he's going to be an awesome mentor as well to Keke coming in and some of the other offensive linemen that are already there. What's not to love about Tristan Worfs?
I totally agree. So the Buccaneers, we've kind of talked about Logan Hall. We've talked about Luke Keke. We've shared our thoughts about Rashad White. When you look at Tampa Bay's draft, start off the fourth round because of that trade with Jacksonville with the top pick in the fourth round, and they used that for Keke Coutee, the tight end. And I'll tell you what, this was a guy that came ready. He was ready for the media interview. He wore a Bucs hat that he received from the team. It's not uncommon for teams when they interview you either at a top 30 visit or at the combine to give you a hat. And he kept that hat, and he told his wife he was hoping that the Buccaneers were going to draft him because he just got a great vibe from Tampa, wanted to be a Buccaneer. And I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, you're playing with Tom Brady, but you also look at Huskies, the familiar faces that he's got. Because listen,
the pipeline is crazy.
It's a purple pipeline, man. You had Vita Vea, Benning Potoahi, and then last year's first round pick Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. Matt, you're not just drafting the player, you're drafting the person. And for somebody moving from the West Coast up there and see, the Seattle area all the way to Tampa, across the whole country to start a new life, it can be a bit of a culture shock. I mean, he's married, he's settled down,
Yeah.
but he's got some friends here too, and that always helps when you can walk in that locker room and you're not a stranger. You've got some guys that you know, and not just that. He went up against Joe Tryon-Shoyinka in practice on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I think they built a mutual respect out of that too. Otten said that he's a really good friend of his. You saw Joe Tryon-Shoyinka on social media, on Twitter, giving him a shout out, showing that he's excited. Scott, though, I 1,000% agree with what you're saying about traveling from, West Coast to come to East Coast. You want to have some type of familiarity or something like that. To go back to hockey, we were talking about the Lightning. There's stories about talented Russian players that come over to the States to play in the NHL, and some teams they'll carry like another Russian player on that team, because that's a big transition going. Obviously, going from Russia to America is way different than just going from Seattle to Tampa, but nonetheless, like, to have someone that that comfortability, I think, is really going to play a factor. And it's not just the Washington pipeline. The Bucs been doing that for a couple years now. I mean, look at Logan Hall, Houston. You got Grant Stewart right there. Who was it? Gadecki. You got Sean Murphy-Bunting. You got the Central Michigan connection going on there. Yeah, Chippewas. Shout out Maction. Funnest college football to watch. Or Ponce.
Hey, they'll play football on Tuesday night, man, in November. They will.
It's the best. Having football every single night of the week is awesome during the season. But nonetheless, I think that comfortability is going to be great. At first, I think that Otten overall is we spoke about this. He's a well-rounded tight end in terms of some tight ends just excel as a receiver. Some tight ends, like another tight end that the Bucs got in this draft class with Keke Coutee, is strictly just a blocking tight end.
Right.
But Cade Otton, you're going to get a mixture of both. Is he the best? No, he's not Trey McBride, but that's fine. The Bucs don't necessarily need that in that offense. So I like that sense of it with bringing in Cade Otton.
Yeah, and the thing too, Matt, is you look at Washington's quarterbacks, and I know this because I'm friends with Jimmy Lake, the former Washington
he was on our show.
Coach. Yeah, it was on the show talking about and we'll probably have him on talking about Cade Otton as well. But listen, to be frank, Washington, they had some terrible quarterback play. That's part of the reason why Jimmy got fired, was because you have to have a quarterback at every level, whether it's the pros or college, whatever. And they just didn't have one. So this guy put up some pretty good numbers without a really good quarterback throwing him the football. And he goes from that situation to catching passes from the GOAT, a Pro Bowler at age 44, and a guy that probably should have won the NFL MVP award.
Tom Brady kind of has a knack for making players around him better.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go on a limb and say that, because one of the things that concerned me a little bit is you look at his 2020 season, which they only played 4 games because of the COVID season, I believe.
Right.
He had 258 yards. Next year, 2021, he played 8 games. So double the amount of games, 250 yards. So we're talking about 8 yards less in 4 more games. That's a little concerning there. But overall,
quarterback play.
Exactly. As you said, the bad quarterbacks. And you take out that 2021 year, I mean, he was averaging 13 yards per reception, 10, 14. So we're talking about productive plays if you're getting double digits on making a reception. So I still think there's a little bit more that we could see from him as a receiver, and you're just naturally going to get that with Tom Brady.
And he's hit the weight room too. He's got to get bigger and better, but he's a high effort guy that is, I call him more of a positional blocker now, because he doesn't have the size, the brute strength to just overwhelm guys and move the line of scrimmage. But sometimes all you need is just to get in somebody's way, right?
He has a willingness to do it too, which I think is very important.
Use good technique and just turn your guy just a bit. You don't have to drive him into the ground like Keke Coutee will. But we'll get to him in a second.
Talk about glass eaters and the Legion of Doom. He's on there too.
Yeah, but I like the pick of Otton, and not just because we had him as a Bucs best bet. The reason why we did is because, like you said, Matt, he's versatile. He can do both, and that's really what the Buccaneers need. They don't like guys that are just receiving tight ends, right? They tried that with Tanner Hudson for years. They tried that with O.J. Howard, who was a. It's funny. O.J. was no more of a blocker, no more as a blocker at Alabama. But yet they just didn't throw him the ball. But when he did, he caught touchdowns and had ridiculous yards after catch ability. And you saw glimpses of that in Tampa, but he just couldn't put it all together. Then he had the Achilles injury and couldn't overcome that,
Now that I think of it, OJ torched the Eagles. Didn't he have that? Because last year, like his only touchdown was that Thursday night game against the Eagles.
Well, it's kind of on a little bit of a trick play. It was like a play action where he kind of like
but he
snuck
scored.
into the end. Yeah,
but the main point I want to make was, I think this was even before I was at Pewter Report, but OJ had that long touchdown where he like caught it and he ran like 60 yards up the field for a touchdown. I think that was against,
I believe.
No. I'm saying when he was with the Bucs.
Oh yeah,
he caught like a 10-yard reception.
When it was against the Bills, he had a touchdown against the Bills.
It was a home game. I thought it was against the Eagles. Maybe the year after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Anyway, he should have went. I know he went to the AFC East. He should have went to the NFC East. Destroyed the Eagles. But yeah, to your point, receiving tight ends haven't really worked out in this iteration of the Bucs offense. So why not get a guy that can do both? Put players in the best position to win.
Exactly. Matt, I'm going to let you talk about this for a second here. I know you've studied free agency. Leo with the $5 super chat. Saints fans getting chirpy about the Honey Badger joining them. They must not have watched the Super Bowl. They still have a lot of holes post-draft. We're going to get into the NFC South drafts on Wednesday's show. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking with the Buccaneers coaches. And so
that's right.
We've got a show tomorrow. We're being able to interview the defensive coaches, the special teams coach, Keith Armstrong, as well. And so tomorrow's show is going to be about our reaction to what the coaches say in the interview period tomorrow. So make sure that you join us tomorrow at 4:00 Eastern for that. Then we're going to get back to draft talk. There we go. That's tomorrow's show. Bucs defensive and special teams coach pressers. That's defensive line coaches, Casey Rogers and Lori Locust there. Rogers is also a co-defensive coordinator. So that's going to be tomorrow's show. But the thing is we want you to stay with us for Wednesday, because we're going to break down the NFC South drafts and talk about some of those rookies that could make an impact for the Bucs' arch nemesis and rivals. And we'll get to that on Wednesday. But Matt, when you look at the Honey Badger, I'm going to have you talk about that. And while you do that, we haven't done this in a while. And so first post-draft show, we want to do our roll call. Roll call. So go ahead and let us know where you're from. And of course, like Mark said, hit the like button.
Please hit that like button.
But while Matt talks for about a minute or two and educates and entertains and informs us about the Honey Badger and his fit in New Orleans and whether that's a good thing for the Bucs, given how they've torched him a little bit in the Super Bowl or not. I want to hear where you're from. And so for the next minute or so, you tell us your location and we'll put it up on the screen. Go.
Yeah, I am looking forward to more battles between Tom Brady and Tyrann Mathieu. If you remember Super Bowl LV in Tampa Bay, it got a little chippy between Tom Brady and Tyrann Mathieu. They got in each other's faces, and Brady likes to talk smack to certain guys. Well, to everyone really, but when Mathieu was getting into it as well too, it adds fuel to the fire. I mean, let's face it, the Saints, whatever they do on offense doesn't necessarily matter. Their defense plays the Bucs offense better than almost anyone that goes up against Tom Brady and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin when he's healthy. So adding another talented player like Tyrann Mathieu is not good for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, some people wanted the Honey Badger to come here. It was more of a pipe dream more than anything else, because Todd Bowles is his stepfather. So not stepfather, father-in-law.
Yeah.
So that was there. I understandably there was that connection there. But at the end of the day, Mathieu is still a productive player. Maybe he lost a step or two, but he's still got that instincts. He's still going to roam around there, make some plays on the back end. He can still come up to the front of the line of scrimmage. And this is big for the Saints too, because they lost some of their safeties, one to retirement. And so they needed to fill that position. They started doing that. They started doing that. Forgetting the former Buck that retired and then came back, Justin Evans. Yes, yeah. Justin Evans. I was thinking Justin Young.
He's like, a bit of a project. I mean, there's no guarantee he's going to make the roster, whatever. That's just kind of a, we'll see if this guy has returned to form, whatever. Mm-hmm. So,
but yeah, nonetheless, they're trying to fill the safety position. Obviously, Tyrann Mathieu, I believe the deal is 3 years, $33 million. Still a very talented player. Maybe not the prime player that he still was, but could definitely make an impact on the Saints defense, and a defense that's already really had their way with the Bucs over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, no doubt. Going back to the draft, these Buccaneers, they end up with 8 players, start off with 6 picks, and they ended up
There's a lot.
acquiring they end up acquiring a couple more players. One of the players was not punt god.
Nope.
It was national champion punter Matt Camarda.
Jake Camarda.
So I'm sorry, I said Matt. Yeah, Jake.
Yeah.
I looked at you and I said
I was
Matt.
messing up the names
Jake.
all weekend, though. I'm not a names guy.
Jake Camarda.
I'm a face guy, so it's sometimes I have
national
issues.
champion from the Georgia Bulldogs. And I'll tell you, I saw this kid kick a lot. I watched a lot of Georgia games, and he's pretty much everything you want as a punter. He can punt for distance. He can punt for hang time. And I think one of the most difficult things, as Josh Capo from Pewter Report pointed out in his grinding the tape column, which was the punter edition, which I loved it when he said in the PR group chat, he said, "Hey, I'm gonna do a grinding the tape on the punter." Like, okay, whatever, sounds good. It was actually really well done.
It was. He created his own stat.
Yeah, it's called a piña, like piña deep, where he kind of compared him to Matt Ariza, the punt god, supposed punt god from San Diego State, and I think this kid came out pretty favorably. When you look at what he's able to do, Jake Camarda can not just do the punting and the holding, he can also do kickoff. So he really replaces Bradley Pinion, who does all 3 of those things for the Buccaneers. And we saw a couple of his kickoffs go out of bounds. Mm-hmm. I know that Pinion was dealing with an injury last year, but some of the punts were less than ideal. So I know that fans are gripping the fact that Jason Licht drafted a punter. But the thing is Stout, the punter from Penn State, was the only other punter that they liked in this draft, and he went a couple spots before they ended up picking Camarda.
Yeah, and I think that's important to point out, and I think Josh Capo did a great job, not only with this article, but getting this point across, that punting is more than just kicking the ball deep. You have to make sure you get the ball out of bounds or get it within the 5 to 10 yard line. There's such an importance on, you can kick it 60 every time, but what if you only need the ball to go 35 yards? Can you finesse it right then and there? Yeah. The hang time is a huge issue. So that's why the punt god, and again, he didn't even go first or second. So that's why the punt god, it's fun that he can boot the ball.
What 6th round?
He didn't go. He didn't go in that run of punters, and this draft has and will be known as the draft of the wide receivers and punters. So shout out to
4 punters went.
Yeah, unbelievable. That has to be a record. I don't have those stats in front of me. But yeah, at first I was a little skeptical about taking a punter that early, but the more I've thought about it and marinated on it, the Bucs still got a ton of value in general in their draft. So I don't have as much of an issue with taking a punter when you look at the other names that they have in this draft class. And if you're having struggles with Bradley Pinion as they did towards the end of the season, why not go and upgrade the position that is going to have more of an impact on the game that you think? I mean, it is so valuable when you pin a team
Leo.
that deep. Yeah, Leo, that was thank you for the $2 super chat.
Yeah, thank you.
But I don't really.
You're right. And the other thing is this is, whether you like the pick or not, they got extra picks in this draft. It's not like they drafted Camarda in place of somebody else. This was like a bonus pick because they used the 4th round pick they acquired in the trade, the higher pick rather than their own 4th, to draft the tight end, which was a position of need. I think they filled all their needs, and they still got the punter in this. And he's a starter, right? You have to sit there and say he's going to be the guy. So he's a starter. He's going to do your kickoffs and save Ryan Succop's leg for placements only. He's the holder, and he's also the punter. So I mean, I from a value standpoint, that's not bad.
Exactly. He's doing 3 things, and I think it's very important too that he's going to do the kickoffs, which of course he did at Georgia, because that was a big thing that the Bucs coaching staff wanted for Ryan Succop, in terms of they didn't want him to do the kickoffs. They wanted him to primarily focus on kicking field goals. And we saw how much better he was, or just the kicking game in general for the Buccaneers was over the last 2 years when Succop just focused on kicking. And of course, you got to have a strong leg. You got to have like that that beefy, that meaty leg when you're kicking kickoffs to get that ball out of the end zone, almost like a big beefy burger from Beef O'Brady's.
I see what you did there.
You want beefy? Nobody out-beefs beefs. Try the O'Brady Burger, made with premium Angus perfectly seasoned and topped with melted provolone. It's an all-star, just like that other Brady in town. And if you're tailgating, you might want to pile on Beef's award-winning wings, too. Traditional or boneless in whatever sauce or dry rub you crave. Dine in, to go, or even catering. Play it your way. See you at Beef's.
Oh, Matt, let me tell you, that burger is tremendous, right? We had to stare at that burger for 3 days during our Pewter Report draft show, and finally got a chance to eat one yesterday, and it was absolutely phenomenal. So I can't recommend going to Beef O'Brady's for dinner. And folks, it's 4:45 here if you're listening Eastern time, and if you're driving on the way home from work, if you're getting ready to leave work, stop by Beef's. Go visit them online at beefobradies.com. They got 45 Tampa Bay area locations. Use the store locator. Find the one that's closest to you. And even if you don't want to eat there tonight, if you want to pick up some food for the family, place a to-go order.
Yeah.
Go to beefobradies.com. They've got the best wings, burgers, nachos, all of the pub fare food that that you want from a great American establishment like Beef O'Brady's, and plenty of TVs too. If you want to watch the Lightning hockey game there, there's no better choice. Good food, good sports, Beef O'Brady's.
Yeah, they were awesome all week. I'm getting hungry right now just looking at that burger. I ate earlier. I need to eat again soon. Beef O'Brady's is definitely on the docket there as well too. So yeah, the Bucs went punter with their second 4th round pick. That was the 133rd pick overall. Yep. And I think probably more than any other player in the Bucs 2022 draft class, this might be the most polarizing one, the most captivating one, just in terms of where he was selected and the position itself too.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I think a lot of Buccaneer fans that were gripping over that particular selection, when they made the trade for Zion McCollum and trading next year's 4th round pick, dipping into a future year's draft pool to grab Sam Houston State cornerback Zion McCollum, who I liked a lot. I know Josh Capel liked as well. Mm-hmm. In the 5th round, I think a lot of fans were pretty excited about that move. That was a nice move by Jason Licht to quell the masses that were getting their torches and pitchforks ready to go to the Advent Health Training Center. I kid, but I'll just say this. This is, as John Spytek said, anytime you've got a cornerback who's 6'2", 200 pounds, and runs a sub 440, that's a Buccaneer corner. That's what they're doing right now on the outside. And the great thing is, when you look at the depth chart, Matt, you've got 4 players who will be, or who really essentially in a contract year. I know Logan Ryan just signed a 1-year deal, but Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Ross Cockrell, and Logan Ryan, all 4 of those cornerbacks, they're not under contract for next year. And this is a guy that you can have in the hopper, developing, learning the system, and really starring.
All right, I think Scott froze there for a second, unless I froze. Yeah, Scott froze there for a second. But so I'll take over now here. In my opinion, I thought Zion McCollum, I said before that Rashad White was my favorite pick of this year's Bucs 2022 NFL draft. I would say, without question, my second favorite pick had to be Zion McCollum. And Scott brought up some really good points about how all of these players in the Bucs secondary, specifically at corner, are on 1-year deals or on the last year of their deals. I'm not saying that in a year from now he's going to be the number 2 corner next to Carlton Davis, but he's definitely going to have a leg ahead against, I don't know, maybe other rookies that they might draft next year. Maybe the Bucs bring in a free agent that will compete for the number 2 position. But
right,
Scott, I was saying when you froze out there for a second that McCollum, Rashad White is my favorite pick of this draft.
Yeah,
Zion McCollum is my second favorite, without question.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And he's not 6'4". I know that the media guides that Sam Houston State put out there. He actually measured in at 6'2". So, but yeah, he's 6'2". Carlton Davis is 6'1" and some change. Jamel Dean, kind of the same thing. So they like cornerbacks with length to them, and I really believe that this is a player that can develop into being a potential starter. We'll see, but I like him. I think it's a pretty solid pickup for the Buccaneers, and I'm surprised that he was there in the 5th round. To be honest, I thought he was really a 3rd round guy. So I think this kind of is a bit of a steal here for day 3.
And he's going to have an impact right away because he's going to play special teams. I mean,
Yes.
Spytech talked about that too, where a scout told him, if you run like you did at the 40-yard dash with that 4.3 time,
Right.
we will take you. And the Bucs,
And they did.
yeah, the Bucs lived up to that word from what they told him, and they did take him.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to help out on special teams rather quickly. I love the fact that he's tall, got some length to him.
Yeah.
He can intercept the ball too. That's been an issue from time to time in the Bucs secondary. He had a decent amount, a nice amount of takeaways at Sam Houston State. And more importantly, he's physical.
Yeah.
And you and I are both fans of physical defensive backs.
Yes.
And not every defensive back is like that. Some are
Right.
more finesse, maybe get some more interceptions, but are afraid to tackle. That's not the case with Zion McCollum. So I think he's going
It's
to bring
not.
a
You're right.
physicality to the defense that they already have to a degree, but it never hurts to have more.
Yeah, and ball skills, 54 pass breakups,
Yep.
13 interceptions. Now, he is just about 23 years old. He was a 5th-year senior, and what I mean by that is he played the COVID year. So he played 5 years at Sam Houston State and had 3 interceptions in 4 of those 5 years. And the one down year he had 1 interception. So you add them all up, 13 interceptions, 54 pass breakups. He's a bit of a ball hawk, and you like that about him. But also, you go back to that national championship game where Sam Houston State won the title against South Dakota State in the FCS level. And Matt, he played with a broken hand or broken wrist and had a cast on and was still making tackles, throwing his shoulder into.
I am not hearing you right now, Scott. I don't know if that's just me. All right, seems like we lost Scott again. Yeah, Scott might be muted as Ben says there. But as Scott was talking about, I don't know how much you okay, it's not just me. You guys don't hear him either. I'm not sure how much you guys heard, but he was talking about that when McCollum played in the championship game, he played with a lot of injuries. I believe he had a broken hand or a broken finger, so he's dealing with some issues there. Scott, can you hear us now?
Yeah, sorry.
We can hear you.
Technology is great when it works.
Yeah, it happens from time to time. It's all good.
Yep. So let's finish up the Bucs draft class here, shall we? And we'll get into a couple of the undrafted free agents as we wrap up here. The Buccaneers went out and got another tight end. We thought they would double up at the tight end position. They did. They drafted 2 tight ends. And the guy they took in the 6th round is a guy by the name of Keke Coutee. And Keke Coutee was a blocking tight end from Minnesota. Yeah. That is one of his, I believe, 12.
12
career catches right there. And this guy, he is a hoss, man. He is a ginger. Mark Hook would have loved him. I mean, look at that hair. Oh my gosh.
I love it. The
Holy
flowing mane.
Smokes. Yes, no doubt about it. The thing is, though, is he disappointingly he cut it.
Sadly.
Sadly. Right.
But I think he's growing it back, if I'm not mistaken. Now, you and I, or at least I was on the live stream when we spoke to him. So I didn't get to see him on the Zoom press conference when that was going on. But what I've been told, the hair is coming back. So we'll see. I mean, rookie minicamp's like next week, so probably won't be back by then. But we'll see by August when it comes around if it's back.
Yeah, and the thing too is you got to think with Ryan Jensen being a long-haired ginger on the team, he's going to take Keke Coutee under his coif, under his wing, and really say, listen, dude, you look so much better like that.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, of course.
We need to get back to this.
I think he's going to be a fan favorite without
Yeah.
question, just by the way he looks. Chief Keef, I'm going to keep calling him that. I encourage everyone to do that too, if they would like to. But Scott, we're going to have to get back to the Anthony Auclair prop bet that we talked about a lot. Anthony Auclair, who used to play for the Bucs, was for the most part great guy. For the most part, strictly a blocking tight end.
Right.
That's going to be Keefe's role here.
Yeah. And the thing is, like my bookie would have a ridiculous prop bet. Like it was like plus 1,000 or something.
Yeah.
Right. if he scored a touchdown, because he never did. He never scored a touchdown in Tampa. I think he only had like a handful of catches. He finally scored his first touchdown in the NFL playing for the Houston Texans after he left Tampa. But that was always
Vita Vea had more touchdowns.
That's a fact.
Anthony
It just is. So the Anthony Auclair bet that I'm hoping that my bookie has the balls to put a Keeft prop bet in there, because I'm going to play it.
It's possible though. I mean, one goal line play action. If Vita Vea can score a touchdown,
damn it, so can Keeft.
And Joe Hay got a passing attempt to him in the Super Bowl. I add.
Yes.
It's a possibility. He's going to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl in Arizona this year.
Okay. I like you. Who, Vita Vea or Keeft?
Who?
Maybe
the odds would be better for Vita Vea, because Vita Vea lined up on 4th and goal when Ronald Jones got stuffed at the goal line. So Vita Vea has a better chance, but I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Vita Vea. Vita Vea is going to score a touchdown.
Listen, if my bookie will put up a prop bet for Keeft scoring a touchdown, I will play it. I will put $5 down every week to play it, because the payoff will be a king's ransom if I hit. So I'm excited about that. So the Buccaneers drafted Keeft, and he's got a very good shot at being the in the Roadhouse.
This is why I love our fans. I love our fans when you have a great comment. We will put it up on the
R.I.P. Patrick Swayze. Oh my gosh, what a great movie. Sam Elliott, man, it doesn't get any better than Sam Elliott.
I actually haven't seen Roadhouse. I've heard about it.
You got to see it, man. It's
I will. That's before the start of the season. I will watch.
Bigger. That's like the
before
line
the start of the
movie.
season. I will make sure that I watch Roadhouse.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So the Buccaneers, they wrapped up the draft. They had at one point they had 3 7th rounders, and then they ended up keeping one of them, and they drafted an interesting pass rusher. This is Andre Anthony from LSU, who very much like some of these players, including Zion McCollum, played 5 years at LSU, battled through some injuries, including a knee injury that limited him to 3 games this past season, but in those 3 games, had 4 tackles for loss, a scoop and score for a touchdown that you're seeing there, and 3.5 sacks. The year prior, in 8 starts, or I should say in 8 games he played, and he had 5.5 sacks. So the last 2 years, he had 9 sacks. That's a pretty decent amount. And for a team that could use another outside linebacker type to come in and compete with the likes of Cam Gill and Elijah Ponder, why not throw an LSU guy into the mix there? Played with Devin White. We know Jason Light loves LSU Tigers. So this seems to be a good flyer to take on a guy in the 7th round.
Yeah, he's a 7th round pick, so it's not like you're really taking a risk or anything like that. We saw it pan out with Grant Stewart last year, so why not? John Ledyard made him famous because he was a part of the tape of Luke Gadecki's tape when Central Michigan played LSU. Yeah. And it did not turn out great for Andre Anthony. But
he actually hurt his knee in that game.
Yeah, he did, unfortunately. And then he was done for the year. But it's a player that he's got okay length. There's some I read about that he has a good rip and a swim move. So it's someone that you could throw into the competition for 4th outside linebacker.
For special teams, running down their cover.
Exactly. He'll play some special teams. I think it should be pointed out, too, the 3.5 sacks in 3 games stands out. 2 of them was against McNeese State, so not like the best type of competition. But nonetheless, I think there's a little potential there. And if he hits, that's great. And if not, they'll find someone else that will make the team and make a contribution. So
Exactly.
it's a no-lose situation for the Bucs there.
Yeah, I agree. The Buccaneers signed a couple of undrafted free agents. We have a tracker on pewterreport.com. You can check that out. Some of the names that kind of caught my attention a little bit. Jareth Stearns from Western Kentucky. He was Bailey Zappi's favorite target there. 150 catches. This guy was putting up some ridiculous numbers. Short, compact build, a little slow, but a savvy football player. And the Buccaneers, they're going to give him a shot. He's kind of in that Jalen Darden mix, although I think he's a tougher, more physical, small guy. Maybe not as fast or as quick, but he's an interesting player. And he followed Bailey Zappi and the head coach from Houston Baptist, where they almost upset Texas Tech back in 2020. Texas Tech almost lost that game 35-33 to Houston Baptist. And Jareth Stearns was a big reason why. The other smallish player they got is this guy, Devin Tompkins. Now, he is a fast dude. He's like a 4.42 guy, just under 5'7". And so he is a mighty mite.
Wow.
But it'd be interesting to see if one of these guys can kind of take maybe the special teams return job away from Jalen Darden, or just maybe be the player that the Bucs were hoping Jalen Darden would be, or push Jalen Darden to be Jalen Darden, damn it, and step up and be the 4th round pick you were supposed to be as a receiver and as a returner. And the last guy is Nolan Turner, who is from Clemson. And this is a player that
safety
that probably has the best chance of making the team out of them all. And when you look at Turner and the fact that the Buccaneers didn't bring Andrew Adams back, this is a player that's come up with some clutch interceptions in the playoffs in back-to-back years. And so I've kind of been told this is the guy to kind of keep an eye on. He might end up having the best shot at making the team. But all these undrafted free agents and tryout guys, the Buccaneers just don't really need him this year. Their roster is so stacked, and then especially after adding 8 players in the draft, the path to making this team as an undrafted free agent has never been tougher than
that was what John Spytek talked about, where he's like, listen, guys just don't want to come here because we have the roster all set. And we kind of joked about that during the live draft show where, a couple of years ago, all of the undrafted free agents wanted to come to Tampa because they were a losing team that didn't have the best roster. And that's where you get those cool stories like DeMar Dotson and Cam Brate. And Cam Brate becomes a Super Bowl champion after being an undrafted free agent. Shaq Barrett obviously didn't start with the Bucs, but his story as well, too. So every year you get those guys that are undrafted free agents and they end up making a team and becoming, in some cases, a great player like Shaq Barrett. But this year for the Bucs, I think, as you mentioned, punt returner or kick returner in general could be a spot.
You stand out in special teams.
It at least should be open. And I'm not ready to close the door and get rid of Jalen Darden, but by no means is that his job going into this season. By no means is it his job to lose at either. I think.
Well said.
There's a chance for an undrafted free agent to take that spot.
Yeah, totally agree. Well said. And you mentioned DeMar Dotson. This is a guy that came in as a basketball player from Southern Miss, the longest of the long shots. I had a chance to cover DeMar Dotson's entire Buccaneer career. And he ended up, coming in for pennies and then ended up making a fortune, playing 10 years in Tampa Bay, was a starter at right tackle for most of those, got several big contracts. And I'm not sure what he did with his money. Hopefully he saved it. But folks, if you need some financial advice, there's one place to turn, and that's our friends at Immuni Financial.
At Immuni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you? Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it. All right.
Yeah. We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. Immuni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
Matt, where do we need to get to?
We need to get to Colorado.
That's right. And no, we're not travel agents, and neither is Immuni Financial. But folks, you need money to travel, right? It's expensive, especially with inflation being the way it is. And there's a lot of things that you need to save up for rather than just saving money for traveling when you're retired, but also maybe your kids' colleges, right? And also putting more money in your portfolio. So when you are retired, you can do things like travel to Colorado and invest in the rest of your life post work, right? And you can do that by talking to our friends at Immuni Financial, because managing your family's wealth means more to Immuni Financial than just allocating your assets. It means legacy planning, brokerage and advisory services, retirement accounts, college savings accounts, insurance services. With 40 years of experience in the Tampa Bay area, let Immuni Financial help you plan ahead and stay ahead. And you can do that from anywhere in the country, not just here in Tampa. So if you're listening to this Pewter Report podcast from outside of the state of Florida, still give Immuni Financial a call, 1-800-868-6864. That's what I did. That's where most of my financial investments are housed, at Immuni Financial. Visit them on the web at immuni.com. So Matt, just put up a story as we went live here on the Pewter Report podcast. We've got our new mock draft, not us, but people. We've got the 2023 way too early mock drafts out there. And it was interesting. I'm not going to go through all of the names. One of the names that I do like that was mocked to Tampa Bay, and there's a ton of quarterbacks mocked to the Buccaneers. So these draft experts don't have a lot of faith in Kyle Trask, even though he was a second-round pick in last year's draft. One of the players that was mocked to the Bucs, the jerk, Phil Jurkovec from Boston College, the former Notre Dame transfer. I like this kid's tape. His first year at Boston College, he's a big pocket passer with some mobility, big arm, and he fits this Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich type of style of play. And the other quarterback, one of I think 4 different quarterbacks they had, was Florida's Anthony Richardson, which that would be an interesting pick too, because they just drafted a quarterback from Florida and Kyle Trask. But Matt, it's just kind of crazy. These draft prognosticators don't believe in Kyle Trask. We're Blaine Gabbert.
Well, yeah, I mean, the disrespect to not believe that Blaine Gabbert will be the starter and can lead the Bucs to the promised land a year from now. It's shame on them for not believing in Blaine Gabbert. But I also don't think it's fair to completely rule everything out on Kyle Trask, because he hasn't proven that he can't do it. He hasn't proven that he can. But again, this training camp, I think, is going to be an extremely important one for Kyle Trask for his future, if we're under the assumption that Tom Brady's only here for one more season. But don't rule him out yet. Again, we got a year until the next draft, so it'll change from now. But mock drafts are very addicting, so I get why they want to do one for next year already.
Leo,
thank you, Leo.
$2 super chat. Florio throwing shade at Arians in draft night. Florio just hates Bruce Arians, and he hates Tom Brady, hates the Buccaneers.
He got mad at him for literally sitting down.
Florio's gonna Florio.
Like the place in very sad.
Yeah, it's like look at Bruce. He's sitting in the middle of the war room. Okay, well, which seat should he have sat in? Okay,
yeah.
I mean, the guy's going to be in the Bucs Ring of Honor. Won a Super Bowl. I mean, defer to your elders.
Change the program, change the franchise.
Yeah, let Bruce Arians sit wherever the hell he wants.
So many people gave an opportunity, literally left so Todd Bowles, to make sure that Todd Bowles can be a head coach.
Yeah,
come on, man, like just let it go.
Florio's gonna Florio. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
One name, real quick, before we get out of here. We've gotten into some bonus territory here with this, and I'm sure you all appreciate that out there, you Pewter people. One of the names that I did really like a lot was Trenton Simpson as a first-round pick from Clemson for the Buccaneers. This kid can absolutely play. I think he's got 10 sacks in 2 seasons as a blitzing linebacker. Fast, 6'2", 230-pound linebacker from Clemson. If you're looking for the eventual heir apparent for Levante David, it's this kid right here, man. Keep an eye on Trenton Simpson from Clemson. This kid is super fast and can play. He is a Buccaneer linebacker through and through. So kudos to Charlie Campbell from Walter Football, a former Pewter reporter, for putting his name out there in the draft lexicon for Buccaneer fans to absorb. But check out that Pewter Report article, the way too early Bucs 2023 mock draft roundup. We've got a ton of content on pewterreport.com today. We have Grant Stewart. You got his comments on Logan Hall.
An exclusive interview.
His comments on Logan Hall becoming a Buccaneer, former Houston Cougar teammate. Bucs Monday mailbag is up. Josh Capo's grinding the tape on Jake Camarda, the new punter. So lots of great content at pewterreport.com. More stories going up tonight. We got plenty of content this week. Tomorrow, as we mentioned earlier, we've got a tremendous show for you tomorrow. Yeah, with the defensive and special teams coach pressers tomorrow. So a lot of Buccaneer content coming your way this week here on the Pewter Report podcast and on pewterreport.com, Matt.
Absolutely. Like nonstop every hour or so. It seems like we have something new every half an hour. So another one from JC as well, too, about what the experts, what grades they would give the Bucs. So there's a lot of draft coverage. There's a lot of coverage about the current team after these picks. There's no matter where you go, there's going to be some type of Bucs content that you want or need from pewterreport.com and our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe, go on pewterreport.com and everything else in between.
And tomorrow at 4:00 Eastern time, we're going to be back with even more content here on the Pewter Report podcast, Energized by Celsius. So for Matt Matera, I'm Scott Reynolds saying we'll see you tomorrow for another